All right, good warm up in the morning. It takes me 9 to 10 seconds to deploy the lower and then the upper stage sticks on my Sockler 100 mil tripods. Now I have 4 Sockler heads and tripods. They're all interchangeable at 100 mil. I know these Flowtech heads, everyone says they're amazing. If I worked for another company as a staffer and they wanted to buy me a set of Flowtech sticks, I wouldn't complain, but I'm happy with the 4 sticks I have. The extra 10 seconds career to date has not cost me a missed B-roll opportunity. I don't mind bending over once at the start of my day to adjust those lowers. And then throughout the rest of the day, I can generally float up and down on the upper risers, no bending over. So I have no need. I'd rather have the several $1,000s in the stock market making money for me than tied up in another tripod system. Booked this assignment off a YouTube viewer, another filmmaker, director, DP based in New York City. Threw this job my way. I think originally the client was slated to fly him out, and then things reduced and it became remote interviews over Zoom with an agency. So Beck and I made it happen. It was a little chaotic not having a field producer. It certainly could have gone a bit smoother with someone just focused on that, but I was able to make it work. Everyone was happy. We got our shots. We got our interviews. I think our second or third interview, I was a little late. We were just struggling to find a good shot. And then we also had someone talent side that was late to location. But this was a couple of interviews with design people for this custom home interiors. Hopefully once this package is out in public, I can share it here on the YouTube channel. We'll do another little review. But I jumped between the kit zoom and prime lenses. For the most part, I didn't want to have super fuzzy background depth of field because all these interviews were talking about this environment we're in and the design and the architecture and integration with nature. So I wanted things to be a bit more in focus. But with that said, we did jump over to the primes for some of the interiors. I'm trying to remember back now. I think it was all 50 and 85 mil f2 when I went prime versus f4 on the 28 to 135. And then I shot the gimbal B-roll of the interior of this home on the FX30. Reason being, I currently don't have an E-mount 16 to 35, but I do have a Canon EF mount, Tokina 11 to 16 that covers Super 35. So did the B-roll day on Super 35 FX30, interviews and tripod-based B-roll on the Burano. And I think this was also UHD 2398 S-Log and an upload to the cloud. This was also, I think about, I'm trying to remember now, maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours travel time for me from home. So we drove in the night before, and then shoot day was it was all of a 10-hour day, and we drove home. I was a little tired after that because I didn't anticipate we were going to be working outside as much as we were, and I believe it was in the low 80s and pretty humid that day. Happy it was sunny, nice day, but I was in my head thinking we would be working in the cold, and it was hot. I want to replay this clip from earlier and talk about these headphones. When I was a college student in Boston for 2 years, I worked a paid position at WERS 89.9 FM, which is a radio station owned by Emerson College in Boston. And I worked the morning shift. I think it was only on 1 day a week. It was like 6 a.m. to 10 or 11. I don't remember now the details, but the coffee house was like folk music and bluegrass. And the last hour of our show, we would have a live musical guest on in studio, sometimes full band, sometimes just like a singer, guitarist. But I love the live music component the best. And I had no interest in a career in radio or being talent on mic, but I applied to be one of the engineers there. I just wanted to learn how to mix sound and mix live music a little bit. And it was summer break, and I guess all the radio majors with the real radio voices and broadcast and voice training, there was an opening for a slot. They're like, hey, you want to do the 6 a.m. show? And I said, sure. So I went on for the summer semester, and then that ended up running for 2 years, right through the school years as well. Had a blast, built up a little rapport with some of the local venues, doing live music in Boston. And that's where I started wearing those Sony 7506 studio monitor headphones. You see most sound mixers even today still wear them, but my major complaint with them, they're not good outside in the wind. You hear wind noise, and it's difficult to discern if the wind noise is from striking the headphones or if it's on mic. So I prefer now to always wear an in-ear monitor. I think I misplaced them on this day, and I put those cans on for the first interview and then just ended up living with them. Next project, Beck handled this one without me. Fight night, live stream, switcher, multiple cameras, including a gimbal that's robotic, pan, tilt, zoom from the tech table, and then the audio side. So Beck's switching, doing some of the RoboCam and mixing audio, and then Ice is up on the ladder running the camera, which is the position Beck has managed for the last few fight nights. I was on a ship in the Beagle Channel at anchor, awaiting a storm to pass through before we could make the Drake Passage down to the South Shetland Islands, and we'll get into that in the coming weeks. I'm still working through the footage, trying to put together a little story without revealing any of the content that's going to be in the documentary, which is got to be a year away from being available, and it's still in production. We got to do a whole additional segment in Los Angeles, but I'll cover what I can in the coming weeks. Next, I want to touch a bit on titles, business cards, email signatures, how you present yourself online on your website. So I view myself as a director of photography. Now, people in the industry know what a DP is. A lot of people in corporate that hire me don't necessarily know what that is, and that's fine. The majority of my clients are people already in the business, video producers for the most part, and I have some editors that hire me to shoot the content that they cut, and they all know what a DP is. And at this point in my career, I'm not super interested in getting direct relationships with an end client where I operate as the full production company. But what got me thinking about titles is on our last TV news live shot assignment, I had a motorist drive by and he was hollering from driver's window, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" I couldn't really hear him. I walk over, get talking to him, and we get chit-chatting, and you live in the area? Yeah, I live in the area. Everyone else traveled in, but I'm the local guy. And he's like, "Oh, well, I'm a handyman if you ever need, any repairs at your house." And he gives me his card. And then we get chat more. I'm like, "Actually, yeah, I got a rental house, and there's, always problems. I'm out of town, so it'd be great. Maybe I'll call you to come fix like the next leaky faucet issue." He's like, "Oh, I can do that. And I'm an electrician. Oh, I do roofing too. And actually my wife's a housekeeper and does maid service. And then I've got a cousin who's a licensed plumber, and you don't have to hire my cousin though. I can do it, and he'll just pull the permit for me to do the work." And it reminds me so much of so many overeager, lower experienced people in the video business that they've got that long signature in their emails that they're a producer, a director, a writer, a camera person, a camera operator, a still photographer. And like that guy on the side of the road, he had me. I was a valid lead when he was just a handyman. I'm like, I have a need for that. I do a lot of the handyman stuff myself, but my main career takes me out of town, and I need someone to call in an emergency to go fix things. And then he kept talking and kept selling me on all these ancillary things he did, and I totally lost interest in what he does, because it's like, pick a thing and do it well. I had a ASC cinematographer I met when I was like 20 years old in Los Angeles. And he said to me, he's like, bounce around, work a bunch of different roles, and whatever position you have on set on that particular day, be the best PA. Just be a PA. Don't tell people, but I really want to do is direct or be a cinematographer. Then on days when you're a grip, be the best grip and just stay in your lane. And that advice has held solid for me throughout my career. Now, at times, I have changed my email signature to be like cinematographer and photojournalist, or I was doing director of photography and broadcast E&G for a bit because I was getting copied on email chains for press releases, doing some of this news border work where I needed to make it clear like I was the news photographer, the photojournalist on the assignment, because a lot of the news stuff, they don't understand DP or cinematographer. But this was a good reminder for me, talking to that handyman, I do everything else too guy, that I need to just pick my title, focus on the thing I want to do, and do it well.